Hey everybody, this is S. Anthony Thomas. This is the S. Anthony Thomas Show. How are you doing, my friends? How are you doing? This is episode 136. And can we just be a little bit serious this time? I do that sometimes. And it became the reason I'm doing this is because somebody asked me about some people that I know that have gone on to become big deals in show business. And the person very wonderfully had seen some of the stuff that I'm working on that I'm going to be presenting to the world in 2023. My new stand-up act that I'm writing, and this person listened to my podcast. Somebody that I knew from the past, that was catching up with me, and they ran across my stuff online. Oh, that's S. Anthony. Well, actually, he said that's Steve, because that's what I went by back then. Oh man, let me listen to his stuff. Oh man, this is great. And he said some wonderful things, some positive things, some really, really big praise. I'm not going to, repeat what he said because it's going to sound, I'm going to sound like an idiot if I say the nice things that he said about me. Okay. And I know he's listening right now, and thank you. But the question he asked me was, hey man, then he mentioned some more compliments, and then he mentions the name of some people that we knew back in the day. And he goes, how come that guy hasn't, or that gal hasn't hooked you up? And I never really thought about it because in my mind, and this is true whether you're in show business or whether you're in any kind of industry where someone has ascended, because those opportunities don't come that often. It seems like there's a lot of people that are famous and a lot of people that are rich, but when you compare the number who've succeeded at a massive scale against the number of the rest of the world that has not, it's actually a very, very small number. But when you get to the point where you're very, very successful, no matter what your industry, no matter what you do, you can only help a certain amount of people. There are only so many hours in a day, and you have to have a life, and you have a spouse and kids or things that you want to do for yourself. You can't help everybody. It just doesn't work that way. You will never be able to help as many people as you would like to. You could be ridiculously rich and you still will not be able to help as many people as you would like to. It just doesn't work that way. It's like musical chairs. When you sign up to play the game of musical chairs, and when you're born into the world, basically your life is nothing but musical chairs. You got to realize when you're around somebody that has access to things, that the music begins to play the moment they become successful. And there's only so many chairs that are available. And when the music stops, and everybody scrambles for a chair, somebody's either going to get knocked to the floor or somebody's going to be standing there with no chair, and they're going to have to move on. Now, the person stopping the music, they're not saying, stop that guy. They're just going, hey, whoever can fit in this chair at the time. And then the music starts again with a chair removed. And that's what happened as you become more and more successful. The chairs close to you, in many cases, the chairs close to you shrink in number. And they should shrink in number, because there's going to be people around you that serve no purpose but to siphon off from you. They're not helping you at all. They're just around. They're not serving a purpose. In fact, they may be detracting from what you're doing. At the very minimum, you should just be a neutral person, but don't be taken away and not adding anything. So in some cases, I was one of the people in the chair when the music stopped. With a couple of people that I know that have gone on to greater notoriety, when the music stopped, I was one of the people standing there with no chair, and I didn't take it personally. Like I said, you can only help so many people. Here's the best way I can describe it. Say, for the sake of argument, you are a master juggler. Okay. And we're going to say you can safely juggle 6 objects very safely. Right? No problem. You could do a phone call, watch television, and very safely and effectively, with pretty slim odds of dropping one of the objects. You're most likely, you're going to decide when you want to stop juggling and put the objects down. When you're a master juggler, you can do that. I know some people who really know how to juggle. I know a lot of magicians and people like that. But say that you know that 6 is the number that you can safely juggle without worrying about it. And now, whoop, somebody throws another object in. And now you're not as efficient. right? You thought your maximum was 6, but 6 was your maximum to juggle comfortably. But as it turns out, you can juggle 7, but it's, whoa, you almost dropped one. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. I got the rhythm. But now you have to concentrate a little more. You can't go on autopilot now. You can't go on autopilot with this juggling. You got to be careful. You have to say, oh crap, somebody threw in an 8th one. Oh crap. Whoa. Now you're leaning to the left, leaning to the right. One of the balls that you're throwing up in the air, it's a little off center because you're used to the flow of 6. You just kind of got used to 7, could barely do 7. Now you got 8. And you do, now you're just concentrating, just constantly staring at the objects you're bouncing. And then a bunch of other people come up and they all have objects they want to add to it. And the next person throws a ball and you can barely keep those up. Oh, it's a 9. Oh, you almost dropped it. Oh. And then the 10th one comes in and it falls to the ground. Well, it's the same thing if you're a successful person and you want to try to help the people around you. You can only help so many. There comes a point when you keep adding people, well, now just adding that one extra person endangers all of the people. How many people can you make phone calls for? How many people can you put on your tour? How many people can you put on your sitcom? How many people can you ask the producer, suggest to the producer, demand to the producer that you can add to your movie? How many? And this is, like I said, this doesn't just apply to my industry, entertainment. I know people who work good, regular jobs. I know some plumbers, some roofers and things of that nature. And they're very successful, making a good living. I know a couple of people that I don't want to mention their salary, but they make way more money doing what a service job than people think they're making. You know, I had a couple of people that were doing roofs and I saw this truck and I'm going, people don't realize how much you pay for this truck, do they? He goes, nah. I said, you paid about this for the truck. And I mentioned a really high number. He goes, you know your stuff. I said, well, and I knew some other people. So I know this guy who was doing roofs and a guy who's doing plumbing, and they're making the kind of money where if you just looked at their salary, you would think they were a gastroenterologist or something. You would think that they were a surgeon. That's how much money they're making. So they're comfortable and they've been making that money for years, and they put the money in savings, and they've got regular clients that they go to. And they're getting regular recommendations. And sometimes it's really hard to get in contact with them because the amount of people that want their services, and man, that is a fantastic problem to have. I dapped him up and said, man, I'm glad you're doing well, man. Glad you're doing well, man. You ripping the game right now. Thanks, man. I said, all right. We small talked. And he was talking about some of the people that he knew from his old neighborhood. Some of the people that had similar skills. They weren't as good as he was because these are two special dudes. They weren't as good as they were, the roofer and the plumber, but they wanted to help out some people and get them in the game because, quite frankly, they have more work than they can handle. So it actually behooves them to find some other people that can do some of the work. There's only so many roofs this guy can climb on. There's only so many things he can do. So if he can add another guy, maybe. So he goes out and he finds another guy and he trains this young guy. The young guy was at my house, and the young guy was a hardworking kid, great kid. That's how old I am. The man's damn near 30 and I'm calling him kid. I'm not old. Shut up. F y'all back to me. Right? Hard working. Listen, you could see him observing what the master roofer was doing. He was observing him, learning, asking questions. Boom. And he felt good. The master roofer felt good that he helped this kid out. This kid became so good that he would send him out by himself to do other jobs, and he kicked butt. This kid was ripping the game, and he thought, ooh, this is great. I added this new kid. I'm going to do it again, because even with this new kid, I'm still getting more work than even with him involved. As efficient and fast as he is, I still can't keep up with the work. So he goes and he gets another person, and they're fantastic. And now he's starting to get to the point where he's catching up to the amount of work that he can do, right? And he should have stopped right there, because you always want to have a little more work than you can do. Not a lot more work, just a little more work. And he's thinking, maybe if I add another guy, one more guy, it'll be smooth. Because if he's as good as these other people, it's going to be fantastic. And he got a little sloppy with who he picked. got a little sloppy with who he picked. And the person he picked seemed like someone who was going to do the job right, seemed like someone who was paying attention, seemed like it, but even he knew there was something a little off. You know how sometimes, like, you know, when you're dating somebody and they seem to be too good to be true, and something about them says to you that they're a BS artist and all these red flags, but their performance of Good Person, the show called Good Person, is so good, you overlook the red flags, you think, I'm tripping. There's nothing wrong with this person. Look how great they are. I had to back at you. No, you messed up. So he hires this guy to go to a house. This was not a current client, someone who goes and does maintenance on the roof and checks and makes sure everything's cool. He sent this person to check out a new person, someone who would be someone that, you know, that could recommend to a lot of people. And he figured, hey, the other people I sent were great. I'm going to send this. And he sent this guy out. And the guy decided he wanted to do something a little bit later on. And instead of telling the people that he wanted to meet later on, I'm going to be a little late or canceling, he decided to cut corners on the job. Cut corners on the job. Did I mention he cut corners on the job? I did? Good. Because he cut corners on the job. The person's roof kept leaking and messing up their basement, flooding the garage. And the person says, I spent all this money to get my roof fixed and it looks good from the outside, but every time it rains, it's like my garage is flooded. I mean, I'm glad my tools weren't on the floor, man. Man, if I hadn't moved my computer off the floor, I just bought that computer and I had it on the floor, and I figured since you guys are experts and I had all these great reviews about you, I could be safe to put my computer, because I don't want to put my computer on the desk just in case it get knocked off. You know what I'm saying? He told the story, right? And he literally just moved his computer off the floor hours before the rain because he was going to work on it. Had he not gotten home when he did, and maybe he got home a little later and went to bed instead of working on the computer, that computer would have been on the floor and thousands of dollars would have been ruined. So now he's mad. He doesn't even want my roofer friend to come back and fix it. He doesn't even want him near. And the guy's on the phone, and you could tell, you know, when somebody's that mad at you. I've worked in sales. I've worked at cash register. I've run a little corner store before. You know, when the managers realized I could work the cash register and handle all the math and do all the stuff in the warehouse, all of a sudden that fool decided, hey, let's let the temp do everything while we hang outside and go and show up late. He that rotten piece of, I digress. But I know when a customer is that mad, oh, they want to hurt you. Oh, they can't wait to say bad things about you. Oh, the disses come out of nowhere. Okay, Mr. Smith, here's your pizza. Okay, kid, here's the $20 and here's another $5 for you. Thank you. Oh, by the way, if you ever buy a house and you want to get your roof done, never use these people. Here's their card. Make sure you call them and say something disparaging about their mothers. You know what I'm saying? They can't wait to dish you, right? And he wouldn't let the guy come back. And the guy goes, look, I will come back. I will fix your roof myself. I will fix your roof myself. Okay? Okay? And the guy goes, all right. You can come back and you can fix my roof. I'm telling you right now, if my roof isn't fixed properly next time, I'm going to sue you and I'm going to ruin you and I might even beat you behind afterwards. You understand? Okay, sir. Okay, sir. So he goes back, climbs up, and it looks good on the outside. He goes to the roof and he realizes that the dude he sent skimped on one thing. He used some kind of technical terms that if you were in the roofing industry, you would know. But according to him, apparently it was literally something that would have taken it took him 8 minutes to fix. That was it. And the guy decided he was so in a hurry to go do what was next and not cover his responsibilities. Had he spent another 8 to 10 minutes, this wouldn't have been a problem, but he wanted to go do something that wasn't his job. The guy comes down from the roof, goes back into the guy's house and says, I'm telling you right now, I personally fixed that. And it's not going to leak again. If it leaks again, I will pay for any repairs. And the guy goes, really? He goes, yeah, I will personally pay out of my pocket. Trust me, it's not going to leak. A week goes by. Hi, I'm Weather Guy, and I just want to say there's going to be a whole lot of rain. Really, in that neighborhood that S. Anthony's talking about that his friend did the roofing job? Oh, there's going to be a lot of rain. I know one thing, if somebody messed up their roof and this rain hit their roof, I'm telling you right now, you better get your goggles and you better get your snorkel. In fact, forget that, and they're going to help you. There'll be a tsunami in your house if your roof isn't fixed correctly. The rain comes down. Torrential rains. And the guy's standing in his garage, punching the inside of his hand. If I see one drop of water come down that wall, I'm going to call him up and say everything's fine and tell him to come back over. And then I'm going to beat his behind. I'm going to drop kick him in UFC, drop kick him in rear naked choke, triangle choke, Dars choke him. Yes, I watched the UFC right before that's why I had all those terms in my head. Don't judge me. Back to the story. And not a drop of water came down. The guy called him back up and said, you did a great job. In fact, I appreciate you coming back and fixing it. You're a good man. I'm going to talk good about you. And after that, he went back, and just to make it right, he talked well of the roofing company, making sure he talked extra good about the company to override all the bad things he had begun to say. He even went back to the people that he dissed the roofing company to say, you know what? It was a mistake. The dude's cool. You can use him. He was fine. He was fine. He was safe. Everything worked out. But, of course, he fired that idiot. But what if that person was even more angry? What about that person's computer was on the floor? What about that person was the kind of person that just really was made it a point to try to destroy the reputation of his company? What if that had been the case? It would have been the case because he put the wrong person around him. And sometimes you got to limit the people around you. Sometimes when you limit the people around you, you may miss out on somebody special. You may miss out on somebody great, but it's just part of the game. You can only help so many people. And like I said, some people are going to be left out. So in many cases, I was the person who would have been a humongous asset to the people. And I got left out. Obviously, everything turned out fine. I'm cool. But that's just the way it is. So I explained to my friend, look, man, it doesn't really matter if this person and that person didn't help out. It doesn't really matter. I do know this. They still think of me fondly. They still know that I'm, pretty good performer. And when I ascend to a level where I'm in the vicinity of their level of success, obviously they'll still be ahead of me because they were hugely successful for years. Of course they'll help out. Because that's what happens. Sometimes the person will ascend beyond you. They'll start traveling at a speed that's faster than the speed you're traveling, and they can't reach back or don't want to reach back or don't have time to reach back or shouldn't even have to reach back. It's not a big deal. I don't really need anybody to reach back. But when you start to pick up speed, as I'm picking up speed right now, eventually you get into their vicinity and they go, hey man, how's it going? How you been doing? Yeah. And you start to hang out. And the next thing you know, hey man, a friend of mine I know is looking for a dude that does this. And I think you would be great for it. And the next thing you know, old Jed's a billionaire. And then I will be at the level that these people are at. And then I will dump this podcast because I will be much, much too good to talk to you losers. What I meant was that, I'll have a lot of projects that will make me podcast a little bit less. I definitely will not drop this podcast because I would be too busy driving my mini cars, being in my mansion and getting it on with really, really delicious women. I definitely will not be doing all of that. I would definitely be still here talking to you chumps. Hey guys, you guys are the greatest. You're not chumps. You guys are the greatest men and women in the world. Please do not kick me out of your podcast musical chair. So this is what I want to say, my friends, especially to the young ones. Don't take it personally when there's people around you who ascend to a new level and maybe they don't take you with them or give you information. Sometimes people are so laser focused on what they're doing on their road that they just don't have time and they can't save a chair for you. But I'm telling you right now, if you do it, you do the things you're supposed to do, and you start to rip the game, one, You may not need them. You may have a series of chairs next to you, and you'll have to decide who can get into the chairs. Or you'll have to put the chairs out and start the music, and when the music stops, unfortunately, somebody gets left off. Or you'll ascend to their level, and then you'll be part of that group, and then they'll have information for you, and you'll have information for them. But don't take it personally. Don't take it personally. That's too much energy to expend on what someone else is doing. Also, if any of you become wildly successful, please put me in like some of your movies and TV shows or something. You know, if you become wildly successful, just holler at your boy here. You know, you could just follow me on all my social media. Just look up my name, S. Anthony Thomas. You just feel free to do that. Or if any of you is wildly and ridiculously rich and you're a little bit on the eccentric side, you know, just check. There's a PayPal link or a Cash App link in my social media. Just feel free to throw a few $1 million in my direction, you know, because if I get the $1 million, that would be a wonderful way to support the show, a show that I will immediately quit because I will have millions of dollars and I'll be too busy getting it on with hot women, driving cars, and living in a mansion. I mean, I would not do that. I would use the money to support the show. I would definitely support the show. I hope they buy that. Thanks for listening, my friends. This is episode number 136 of the S. Anthony Thomas Show. Sorry about the clearing of the throat, and I'm not editing that out. I like to keep it real. Do me a favor. If you love this show, and you do, make sure that you rate and review this program or whatever podcatcher you're listening to it on. iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn Radio. I've been around for a long time. I'm on everything. I'm on Amazon. I'm on everything. Anything that plays podcasts, my behind is on there. And I'm going to need you to give me some 5-star ratings and reviews, dag nabbit. And subscribe to the show if you haven't, dagnabbit. And if you got some friends that you think would listen to this, tell them to listen to it, play it in the car and make them listen to it. And if they say they don't like it, make them walk home. Okay, that may be a little too harsh. Just make sure you spread the word, my friend. I would really, really appreciate it. And I want to say thank you. I see a lot of new people are listening, and to the new people, I would like to say welcome. And yes, I've been this strange for years, and this is something you're going to have to get used to, because if you're still listening right now, you already like this show and you have good taste. Moving on. Much love to everybody. I dig you. Got love for you. I appreciate you. And I will see you again next time. Take care.